All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item B is to recognize Fred Chandler, Allied Building. Is he here? Come on up, sir.
I'm going to ask my assistant, Mr. George
That's
Cable,
fine.
to come up if
That's
that's
fine.
all right.
You're fine, yeah, you're fine.
I'm Fred Chandler, and I represent the Charleston Building and Construction Trades Council. And I certainly want to thank Mr. Adam Strider, who's assisted in us getting on the agenda this evening.
Sure.
We just want to give a brief description and discussion about apprenticeship training and what we do here in the city of South Charleston with the Carpenters Local 439. And Mr. George Cable is our Government Relations Director. He has a better looking hair job than I do. I'll turn the floor over to him for a brief moment. We'd love to have all of you folks come out and tour our facility at some point down the road.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'll just say it's because I have a better barber. I did it myself this morning. No, we appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you here today, and I'll be very brief. This is less of a presentation, more of an invitation. We've got a lot of training centers, some of which are right here in South Charleston. We have our Carpenters Training Center, which is right over by Jefferson Road, kind of right diagonally across from the Bob Evans over there. We'd love to have you all come out and kind of see for yourself our training facilities. But just to give you a quick idea of who we are, West Virginia State Building Trades, we're 13 construction unions, 12 construction unions. One is the Teamsters. We don't represent all the Teamsters, just ones that do construction truck driving. The rest of them, electricians, carpenters, operating engineers, iron workers, sheet metal workers. Anything that you can imagine related to construction, we represent those unions. Those are our members. We have about 25,000 members in the state of West Virginia and just beyond its borders, those who do business here in West Virginia. Again, those are our members. So the reason we want you to come out and kind of see for yourself our apprenticeship facilities is because it's a really exciting time. There's a massive opportunity that we have in the construction industry and also in government right now. You all have probably heard about all of the federal infrastructure money that's coming down as a part of the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed here recently, as well as the Inflation Reduction Act. That's about a $6 billion investment in the state of West Virginia over the course of the next decade, and that doesn't even account for the tax incentives that are included in the Inflation Reduction Act for new energies, things like natural gas, nuclear, solar, wind. There's all sorts of things that are included in that. But also, the city, from the city's perspective, there's going to be $3.7 billion for highways and bridges, $312 million for public transit, about $43 million for airports, $768 million for energy and natural resources, 700 abandoned mine lands, $600 million for broadband, $487 million for water and sewer investments. Some of this you all are going to see directly. And we think the worst thing that can possibly happen in this is if we all don't work together. And that's why we want to reach out to you and come to you to make sure that we use this opportunity the most effectively as possible. Because if we don't use these funds, in 7 years, there's a trigger mechanism within the law, so we have to send that money back. To us, that would be the worst possible scenario, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There's obviously going to be a major need for staffing these jobs in the construction sector over the course of the next decade. We believe our apprenticeship programs are the key to making sure that we fulfill the need for labor on these federally funded infrastructure projects. So that's pretty much my spiel. We'd love to continue this conversation with you, talk a little bit more about this in depth and get in the weeds with you. But we think it would be good if you came out and checked out one of the facilities that's right here in South Charleston.
Yeah,
and we can work with you, Mr. Mayor, and the members of the council. We can talk about when that would be, maybe over the course of the next couple months or so.
Okay. You guys have any questions?
Are you going to the high schools at all to try to recruit?
Oh yeah, absolutely, all the time. We go to career days, we work with the career and technical centers at all the high schools in the county. So yeah, we do a lot of outreach there, and we're trying to do more as well. We have some things in play right now, trying to get some grant funding to encourage some folks to go into the trades. Because we all know, look, it's been said for too long that the only path to success is a 2 or 4 year collegiate
That's
career,
exactly right.
And that's just not the case.
That's right.
No, it's really
That's
not.
right.
There's such a need for a new generation in the trades, and that's what we're out for.
Yeah, I agree.
If I could
Bridge Valley too, guys?
I just wanted to touch on that also. We were actually at the Mountaineer Challenge Academy today with the cadets and doing some recruiting there. We had about 7 of the different craft trades there.
That's awesome.
I actually worked with Kim Saladay from Kanawha County Schools, And we are on the slate for South Charleston High School along with all the other high schools in all
Fantastic.
counties. We will be out, and we're always looking for great young talent.
So we're in here. Good deal.
And Gary McAllister with the Carpenters is here with us as well. He would be with us there that day to
I
go.
serve on the advisory board of Ben Franklin and Carter.
Oh, that's great.
Very active.
Good deal.
And I ran the training center 20 years ago when we first built it. I'm the president of the Carpenters Union in Charleston now. The young people is our future.
Yes.
Good. Absolutely.
So that's all we have, but again, we'd love to have you out.
I appreciate that. Good to hear from you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming. Glad to see that. Okay, item C is to recognize Miss Susan Kasdorf. Susan, Miss Kasdorf, you here? Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Honor and honorable council members. My name is Susan Kasdorf. I'd like to address an issue with permits in South Charleston for backyard chicken flocks. I am here not just on my own behalf, but on behalf of over 200 similarly situated neighbors in South Charleston. Last week, each of you received an email that contained a proposed amendment based on Charleston's current urban agricultural policy to the South Charleston City Ordinance 505.06, keeping animals or poultry. This ordinance states that you can have chickens if you first obtain a permit from the property board. In applying for a permit, I discovered that there is no application form, there are no guidelines or restrictions, no information is available regarding what the board needs to know about you or what you need to bring to the meeting. You are shooting entirely from the hip, and first-time applicants are completely unprepared. I also discovered that it doesn't matter where you live, whether you are responsible, whether you pay taxes, or whether your neighbors consent to your plans, you will never get a permit for chickens in the city of South Charleston because the property board refuses to issue them. And according to the clerk of the property board, has never issued one. Mr. DeBar actually stated in my hearing that, and I quote, "If we were to give anyone a permit, it would probably be you," end quote. He essentially admitted that the property board has a moratorium on permits for animals and poultry. This situation, in my opinion, is untenable and it must be addressed, which is why Mr. Urban and I submitted the proposed amendment to you for your consideration. To summarize the proposed amendment regarding chicken flocks would consist of a maximum of 6 chickens, no roosters would be allowed, coops would be located at least 25 feet away from any habitable dwelling, there would be no free-range chickens, any complaints in regard to chickens would be investigated by the humane officer and any violations would be ticketed. Any 3 tickets in any 12-month period would result in a hearing before the board and a possible revocation of your permit. If your permit is revoked, you would not be able to reapply for 2 years. These are reasonable restrictions with reasonable consequences for noncompliance, and if you meet the criteria set out in the proposed amendment, the board must issue the permit. I applied for a permit to have chickens twice and was denied both times. When I applied in December of last year, I had written consent from my neighbors, and still the board cited reasons for the denial that are just not borne up by the facts and which are refuted in the material that you received. Some of the reasons given were that chickens attract predators like raccoons and coyotes, chickens stink, and the mayor really doesn't like chickens. It has also been brought to my attention in the past couple of weeks that one city leader has recently been claiming that rain runoff would wash the chicken manure into the groundwater, which would make its way into our drinking water. This claim is just ridiculous on its face. South Charleston's drinking water is sourced from the Elk River and is treated for manure-borne pathogens, as all kinds of manure exists in the environment. It is a matter of fact that 10 chickens produce less manure per day than one 40-pound dog, and a chicken manure is a highly sought-after fertilizer. If chicken manure was toxic or introduced pathogens into drinking water, excuse me, no one would have chickens. As for predators, raccoons and coyotes already exist in South Charleston. Pictures of one that has been living in my neighborhood within 10 houses of me in the overgrown backyard for the past 2 weeks was posted on social media on Tuesday. So I know they're there. The fact is there is no research or data to prove or disprove that coyotes are attracted to an area by backyard chicken flocks. However, as noted in the material that you previously received, it has been discovered through scatological analysis that urban coyotes live on human food waste, cats, and raccoons, 3 easily attainable food sources in South Charleston. We also know that they live on rodents, and as Mr. Miller noted in the hearing in December, we have a rat population in South Charleston. As a 22-year resident of the city of South Charleston, I depend on my elected officials to listen to my complaints and the complaints of my neighbors with an open mind, do their due diligence, and research each issue so that they can make an informed decision that's fair to everyone. Personal prejudices about an issue should never affect your decision. Ladies and gentlemen, South Charleston has a great opportunity here. We can join Charleston and Wheeling and choose to lead the state in forward-thinking, honest work and self-sufficiency, or we can continue to restrict the constitutional rights of our citizens to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As your constituents, we ask that you please carefully consider the information provided to you in the packets that you received and ask some questions. We hope that after careful consideration, you will vote to approve the proposed amendment to the current city code and ensure that permits can be issued for chicken flocks in South Charleston. I do very much appreciate your time and attention, and I thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'm prepared to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from council? Ms. Castor? Yes.
In the materials that you'd sent to us, you indicated that Charleston had not received any nuisance complaints about backyard chicken flocks.
That's correct. I made a FOIA request in January. I have a copy of it here in my bag. I can produce it if you'd like to look at it. But I made a FOIA request. It's an online process, and the response that I got back said that I asked for any nuisance complaints or any complaints that involved backyard chickens or beehives, and I was told that no records exist.
And it might have been in there and I missed it, but did you find out how many permits have been issued by Charleston?
I did not ask that question.
Anybody else? Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Castor. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Item D is to recognize Mr. Alex Urban. Mr. Urban, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. She talked about the birds, I want to talk about the bees. So I'm a beekeeper, I've been keeping bees for about 12 years. So the proposed amendment that Ms. Kasdorf was telling you about, it's mirrored on what Charleston has. A city that's 4 times larger than South Charleston. Now, we don't ask for any special favors. To answer your question, Mr. Schreider, they don't even have a permitting process. It's free, it's a free-for-all down in liberal Charleston. But we don't want that here in South Charleston. We agree that we need regulation. We need permitting. But the permitting process needs to have some objective standards. Things that can be met by reasonable people under the circumstances that that can be weighed and measured. Heck, put a fee on it. How many citizens come here and say, I want to pay more money to the city? Very few, but we are some of them, right? Bees are necessary. 1/3 of all of our food comes from the pollination of our crops. It is a cause we all should care about. Because it is so important, the state of West Virginia has regulated beekeeping through the West Virginia Apiary Act and the Department of Agriculture's regulations. It's highly regulated, very safe. It's like driving a car. It has the potential to be dangerous, but it doesn't have to be. Reasonable people follow the rules, right? That's what we all like. We want people to address their elected officials in a reasonable way. And the proposal would limit South Charleston residents who have a permit to 2 honeybee hives. That is more than enough for just a residential home consumption. She wants she wants chicken, and I want bees. It's a reasonable proposal. Communities around the Canal Valley, including Charleston, but also Nitro, are moving forward. You may have seen this in the news. Nitro is working with a honeybee company to put honeybee hives on their city properties. Half of the honey goes to senior citizens. You know, there's a lot of elderly people who would probably enjoy something like that. Once again, we're not asking for favors. We just want some reasonable access to those things. Reasonable accommodations to some of your citizens. Additionally, we were talking about grants earlier. with urban agriculture comes the ability to have millions of dollars, and some of those materials are in those packets that we provided you through the USDA, and you also have private grants. So that could go to beautification projects for our public works. It could go to citizen organizations and even schools who would help further pollination. And like I said, we all agree it should be an unfettered right like it is in Charleston. But we do want some limited access. So with that, we just ask you to take our proposal serious. We're not crazy. We have a different worldview, perhaps. We're all friends here. No one wants to bash someone over the head. And it seems like this has become divisive, and it shouldn't be. Where I grew up, you break bread with people to understand everyone's situation. We're just asking for a fried egg and some honey to go along with it. That's all. But with that, I hope you truly consider this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, wait, is there any questions, sir? Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you all know about what will that do to our property value?
What is that, sir?
What, if it will do anything to our property value?
Well, that is a great question. And all I know is that with those USDA grants, that could actually be used to have an analysis done. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not an economist by any stretch of the imagination, but also I think it would help create dialogue, right? I mean, it's not just about property values, but chances are that's why you're going to have communications with your neighbors. You want good neighbors, you're not going to, reasonable people want good neighbors, right? So you're going to have these conversations with people, right? It's not going to be some shanty or some harebrained idea or some crazy hive. So hopefully that addresses your question.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody?
Mr. Mayor,
Okay,
may I
thank you.
recognize just a moment? I can answer something to his question.
Okay, real quick.
It's just this long. I had a conversation with the West Virginia University Extension agent a few weeks ago, and we talked about this issue and was it a good idea, is there problems? And she told me that in fact, chicken flocks and the honeybee hives have a tendency to actually raise the property values because they see it, when people come to buy, if they like chickens and you already have a chicken coop, they're interested in keeping that. And they said that with the honeybee hives, it helps, it just raises the property values. That's what she told me. So you can call the West Virginia University Extension agent in Morgantown and get the same information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all for that. Consideration of any bids, Councilman Sabel.
Done this evening, sir.
Department head reports, anybody?
We got the USAC this weekend.
That start today or tomorrow? Tomorrow,
Yeah.
run
Friday,
through Saturday, Friday, Saturday? Okay. That's the boy, is it both?
Yeah, the
Oh,
skills
okay.
competition is tomorrow, and then the
Okay.
games are on Saturday.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I think Sherry's singing on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, anybody else have any questions for the department, has any comments, anybody? Sure? Everybody good? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Adjourn.